Ankin Ma'at, Ankin Ma'at. Welcome to Kemetic Ascension. Come on in, come on in. I must apologize that I am late, that we're starting a bit later today than expected. Ankin Ma'at, Ankin Ma'at, please join us. Ankin Ma'at, please join us. Hoping that you will join us shortly, that you'll be here. Looking forward to speaking to you all. Come on in, come on in. Ankin Ma'at to you. Ankin Ma'at to send to Hootie Forever. There is William Humphrey. Ankin Ma'at to Rich Douglin. Ankin Ma'at to Gil Prescott. Ankin Ma'at to you all. Welcome to Kemetic Ascension. Once again, my name is Jabari Osaze, also known as Heru Jedin Ma'at Aten Ra. I am so honored that you've chosen to spend part of your Sunday with us. And let me just go ahead and say once again, I apologize for being a little bit late. We've had some technical issues with internet. Sometimes that happens, but we're up and running, up and running. Ankin Ma'at to Ron Green. Ankin Ma'at to you. Uncle Jasaneb, life, strength, and health. Ankin Ma'at to Kevin Simmons. Ankin Ma'at coming to us from Baltimore. You will probably know, because I think the majority of you have probably been with us for Kemetic Ascension before, that we expect to hear from you, especially at the beginning of Kemetic Ascension. So what do we want to hear? We'd like to know how long you've been part of Kemetic Ascension, and we'd also like to know just where in the world, where on the back of Geb you are. Where are you? Please let me know where you are. Ankin Ma'at to Miss Mena, who is Sacred Woman Ida Kadiatu. Ankin Ma'at coming to us from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Ankin Ma'at to you. I'm so pleased that you are here with us. I'm hoping that we'll be able to have a robust conversation today. The conversation may be a little bit different than it has been. It is critically important for us to talk about some of the things that are going on in our community. And I'm not sure how many of you saw that I had, I think, a really interesting conversation with a pastor. He would say minister. He doesn't call himself pastor, but the head of a church in Harlem. We had what will probably be the first of many conversations, and I thought that it was very, very interesting. So I'm really hoping that you will join us for what will undoubtedly be, as I play part of that and also connected to some of the things that are going on in the world. I really hope that you are going to benefit from that conversation. You're watching me as I set up a little bit, particularly because all of my time prior to seeing you all was in getting the internet up and running. So we are here. Um, Let me go ahead and greet a few more of you. Let me greet Hero Jehuti Pata Umikatem Ra, who is coming to us from Oakland, California. I knew that you were in California, but I don't always remember exactly where in California. Ankin Ma'at to you, one of our full members. Ankin Ma'at. Ms. Mena said you were waiting for me, but you knew I was coming. Good. I'm glad. Woo! I was a little. I was concerned that you all would think, since we did not have our last Kemetic Ascension due to me traveling and doing some unusual things last week. I was hoping that you all would know that I was going to do everything. I was going to try to have the Neteru assist me in moving heaven and earth to ensure that I was here. So I'm glad that you are here as well. Ankin Ma'at to Kenneth Soup 63. Kenneth Jennings from New Orleans. Ankin Ma'at to you. Ankin Ma'at to Eric Adams. Peace to you. Peace to you. Ankin Ma'at to, I'm missing a few of you, aren't I? Yes. Sinette Willanet. Efua Ma'ati Robinson Obijewa Aset. Coming to us from Los Angeles, Atlanta, and Baltimore. As you remember, our Sinette Willanet is really, really moving between not just states, but whole regions of the United States. And you're in LA. I'm glad that you are safe and sound and doing well. And I'm hoping that you get to stay in LA for a little bit so that all that movement doesn't become challenging. Although I think you're used to it. You've been doing it for quite some time. So Ankin Ma'at to Sinet Cortia. There as Tisha. Is Tisha the way that I would say that? I wonder. Ankin Ma'at, one of our full members coming to us from the ATL. Ankin Ma'at. I am just at the point where I am planning to schedule my trips, my historic trips, my trips to museums and the like around the country. And I've had so many requests to return to Atlanta. I am going to do that. So I'm asking, particularly Sinet Cortia, I'm sure I'll have this conversation with you personally or in our closed shrine meeting soon. We're having one tomorrow evening at 6:30, by the way. I'm hoping that you'll even tell me when you are free as the shrine member who is most active and in the ATL. It would pain me if I was there and you were not there. So I'd love to know when your Tia is the way you say it. Okay. Please just let me know when you think you'll be free. We'll talk about that a little bit because it's time to start doing my museum tours and lectures. So definitely Atlanta is one of those places I must go. Ankin Ma'at to Afromantic. Ankin Ma'at to you. Callie on deck. There we go. Callie in the house. Callie is in the house a few times today. That's wonderful. We're reaching the East Coast. I see Sen and Jenicon Mallow coming to us, I'm sure. Is it Naples, Florida? Is it Naples? Is it Naples? Is my memory failing me again? I want to say it's Naples, Florida, but I know you're coming to us from Florida. Ankin Ma'at to you, one of our full members. Ankin Ma'at to send Jason Holmes, one of our full and active members. Ankin Ma'at to you, Naples, Florida. See, look at that. I did remember. Ankin Ma'at send Jason, who is coming to us from. Now, see, when I see Send Jason, I think East St. Louis because I know that's where he's from. But I'm pretty sure he's coming to us from Lincoln, Nebraska. I think I might have messed that up. Anyway, Ankin Ma'at to you. Charge it to my head and not my heart. Ankin Ma'at. I still think East St. Louis when I think of my dear Sen, Jason Holmes. Ankin Ma'at to you, Ankin Ma'at. Ankin Ma'at to T. Coben 1. Ankin Ma'at from Flint, Michigan. It's always good to see you. Ankin Ma'at to Seven Asar. Peace to you. And yes, and I was right. Lincoln, Nebraska. See, I did get that right. Good. Wonderful. Ankin Ma'at. Ankin Ma'at to, and our meeting will be 6:30 tomorrow. I will post something on our internal shrine page, the intro to the Kemetic Ascension, Kemetic Mystery Systems page, to give everyone the link, to remind everyone we will be meeting tomorrow at 6:30. Miss Mena is from Flint too. Really? Oh, wow. Wonderful. Ankin Ma'at, Ankin Ma'at. And Dwa to your congrats on my nuptials. She is beautiful. Ankin Ma'at. Yes, she is. She is traveling. We had to do split duty yesterday. I did a tour, a Black History tour of New York City yesterday. I was asked to do that tour and it was amazing. I'm still tired, but it was amazing. And she had to go to her brother's. Her brother and his wife are having a child, so she had to go to a baby shower. And I was so disappointed I wasn't able to be in two places at one time, but I'd already committed to the tour yesterday. So she's on her way back. We've been talking back and forth all morning. She's driving back. Dua to you, dua to you, dua to you. I see Sinette Willanet says, question, is there many or few as there are many or a few about where the oldest pyramids located. It said they're located in the Sudan. I think that we can say with pretty good confidence in that Willinette that the oldest Merkutu, the oldest pyramids, are actually in Kemet. And I think we should recognize that we see the intermediate forms in Kemet as well, which tells us that they were developed there, right? What do I mean? We see the things that lead up to the structure that today we often call the pyramid, which means that the individuals who lived within Kemet were innovating on their designs until they reached what I would believe is the summit of monumental architecture, which is the Merkut, the pyramid. I would say that's definitely how we should look at it. And so we should recognize, however, that the Sudan, and when you say the Sudan, we're talking specifically about that nation that we often call Nubia, which perhaps should be better called Kush. We know that there are actually more Merkutu in the Sudan than there are in Kemet. That's fascinating that there are many, many more. We're talking about by at least a factor, at least 100% more. Let's put it that way. There are over 200 in Kush, and I believe that number is an undercount. So there are many, many more. They're not as large. Perhaps they're not as I'd say that all Merkutu are difficult to build, but maybe they're not as architecturally and engineeringly, if I can make that word, if I can create that word, challenging, just because they tend to be smaller in size. But definitely the Sudan has more. They just are younger. Okay. All right. I'm pretty sure that we can prove that definitively. Anken Ma'at Tanima Naima Ra. How are you? Anken Ma'at, Anken Ma'at. Anken Ma'at to Shane the Watcher 616. 616. Congratulating. The wedding was beautiful. Anken Ma'at. Dua for your kind words. You know that the process of ending one relationship and beginning another one has been challenging. But it is amazing. I will say that we were able to have an incredible ceremony. I am blessed. The Neteru have blessed me to find me another amazing mate. Not that my previous mate was not amazing. She was amazing as well. But how many people get to have amazing mates put before them to assist them on their journey, to help them be the people that they're meant to be? I have to say dua to the Neteru for allowing me to be in that situation. So I'm so honored that she is now my wife. We're talking about her name is Tony. So you will at some point you'll see her. Probably for those of you who come to live ceremony, she'll probably be at a ceremony or something like that, and you'll see her there. Anken Ma'ata Senatan, one of our full and active members coming to us from Chicago. Anken Ma'at to you. Anken Ma'at to Robert Bunag, who we know is coming to us from Daly City. And it is wonderful that you're there. It's you're saying, and your girlfriend is in Los Altos. Yes, time flies with this year. Been still wanting to do a meetup in NorCal. Yes, I would love for people to meet in NorCal. That would be wonderful. I think that it would be amazing to do some meetups on the West Coast. Of course, the person who I'm quite sure that he is quite away from there, but of course, we would love to see if we're doing something on the West Coast that we would involve the Jati of Phoenix. Now, of course, he's in the southern part of the country, not the northern part of the country, but he's still closer than New York. So I would love to see if he could be involved as well. And I know he's here, so maybe you could even speak to some folks about doing some things on the West Coast. It'd be wonderful. Anken Ma'at to... Oh, I see. Kenneth Soup 63. Kane used to live in Staten Island. Wow. Remember me when I was in New York? Wonderful, wonderful. My mate is from Staten Island. She's a Staten. There are not that many folks of African descent on Staten Island, although the number is growing, and her family is one of them. She is from Staten Island as well. I tease her about it mercilessly, which is probably unfair because I know that folks from Brooklyn and the Bronx used to tease me as a kid that grew up in Queens. So I tease her now. So that's pretty funny. Ankan Ma'at to Jahim Ray. It's wonderful to see you. And Dwa Dwa Dwa. Ankan Kush didn't have the same vanity that Northern Kemet suffered from. No need for fancy pyramids. Plus, they had the holy mountain there, which I think is taller than Giza. To call it vanity, I don't know if that's fair. I don't know if it's fair to call that vanity. That would make it sound like building Merkutu is a project of vanity, and certainly we know that it in many ways the Merkutu are architectural engineering wonders, but when we see them today, we see these massive monuments with nothing around them. In many ways, they were the anchors of an entire spiritual center that had many buildings with thousands of people working and milling about. I certainly wouldn't call the Merkutu vanity. And to say that the Merkutu in the Sudan are younger is no slight on the Sudan. Clearly, yes, they had Jebel Burkal. That's what you're referring to when you say the holy mountain. It is amazing space. And let's be clear, anything that Kemet does, in many ways, we should recognize that the tradition comes from the South, and that many of those concepts have their origin further south than Kemet, right? So I'm not trying to say Kemet is amazing and Kush is less than amazing. We should recognize that the tradition we practice, while we say Kemetic, we should say Kemetic Cushitic. That would probably be the most appropriate way to describe it. Let's see. We need more representation on the West Coast. Yes, I agree. I absolutely agree. Ankan Ma'at to Silent K. Peace, God, to you too. Ankan Ma'at to Nesu West, coming from Miami, another person in Florida. Ankan Ma'at to Sanet Yashira Ra Sakina Ra. Ankan Ma'at to you, another active member. Well, Sakina Ra, it seems like I haven't seen you as much recently, and it's just because I have been busy, because Sakina Ra is everywhere. So if I haven't seen you, it means that I haven't been around, is really what it means. Ankan Ma'at to you, one of our full members who is very active as well. Ankan Ma'at to Miss Chanel from Toronto, Canada. Wonderful, Ankan Ma'at. We have folks coming to us from Canada. Ankan Ma'at to Dogman. Greetings from Ra. Wonderful, Ankan Ma'at to you. Mansa Adirawo. Mansa Adirawo. You should go live on TikTok. I think that it's time for us to start doing more on TikTok, and I'm about to start doing more on TikTok even as a historian. So yeah, I agree that we should, because it reaches a large swath of people and it skews younger than even Instagram. So yes, I think that we need that. I'm glad Dwa for that comment, by the way. Dwa for that comment. It's an important comment. It's not until recently that I realized that people went live on TikTok. I'm not by any measure someone who is proficient at TikTok. So definitely I'm going to be learning, and we're going to start trying to go live on TikTok soon too. I just thought about it a little bit more about 2 weeks ago. I was watching someone live on TikTok who was in a political conversation, a very young person, and I thought that the conversation was very interesting. And I said, wow, look at this large audience on TikTok this person has. We need to do that as well. You are absolutely right. Ankan Ma'at to Soul Savvy 33, watching from the New Orleans area, following since November 2023. Ankan Ma'at to you, and peace to Nola. It's certainly a place that I've not been to New Orleans, y'all. I have not. And it's one of those, if there's a city in the United States that I have not visited yet that I really want to, if I could make a list, New Orleans would be the #1 city. And so I'm hoping that I'll be able to go there soon and do a real historic tour of New Orleans. I'm not going to be going there for the debauchery that I might have been involved in as a young man. I'm on the fifth floor, as they say now. So I would really be more interested in following some of the veins of African spirituality that have tended to continue to be in existence there in New Orleans. And I think that I want to also look at what has been occurring there with regard to some of the what some people call hoodoo, and not even using that term derogatory at all. But I'd also like to look at the work of Marie Laveau. I've read a bit about her, and I think that that would be really fascinating. So definitely, it's one of those places I want to go. Shane the Watcher. Oh, Ankin Ma'at to James Limba. Ankin Ma'at to you and Hetepu. Shane the Watcher says TikTok can be vicious sometimes, but it can really extend your reach. Yeah, I think TikTok can be vicious. And you know what? Based on all of the work that I have done, I would even say that the stuff I've done with Sonnetter, right? All the debate and stuff. There's sometimes I think that I should open myself up to some of the craziness on TikTok, not because I want to sully the tradition, but because it will draw eyes. So that's one of the reasons why I've considered that as well. So if you have some thoughts around it, email me, because definitely I'd love to think about that a little bit and think about how to properly do TikTok. Senaton says, I got to do New Orleans. It's truly amazing. Senaton, I'm telling you, maybe if I'm going to go to New Orleans, maybe a bunch of us should do like an outing in New Orleans. I would do that. If a bunch of Shrine of Ma'at folks want to meet in New Orleans and do the historic thing, eat some good food, enjoy each other, I would be down for that. So we should definitely look at that and explore it. I would, and I'm not. This is not puffery. I'm honestly saying that I would love to do that, even maybe as early as the first half of next year. I would love to do that, because I would love to even be able to do historic tours of New Orleans, because I've studied New Orleans but never been to New Orleans. That's the challenge of being a historian that focuses on the traditions of African diaspora. There are many places that I know quite a bit about, but I've never actually set foot there. And to complete, to enhance, to continue my studies, you got to go to the place. So I definitely want to be able to do that. So I'm putting a bug out there. If anyone is really interested, let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. We can go to New Orleans. I would love that. Let's see. Is Ethiopia and Eritrea considered Punt and Kush? That's a really good question. I think that we should be clear that when the Greeks, Ethiopia is a Greek word. It means burnt face. Burnt face. And I do not believe they meant it derogatorily, by the way. I do not believe they meant it derogatorily. Even though if someone came up to me and said, look, like my face was burned, they might catch a bad one. So, but definitely, I think that as we look at the term Ethiopia, it comes from the Greeks having interaction with the darker people than they usually had interaction with. So they were talking mostly about Kush. Kush is certainly a place that we would put in northern Sudan today. Part of it would have been in Kemet, and part of it would have been the larger part of it would have been in the Sudan, right? And so that's how it works. That's where we could say that Kush was located. With regard to Punt may be closer to what modern Ethiopia, maybe you should call it Abyssinia, is. Okay? Because modern Ethiopia is not where ancient Ethiopia was for the most part. However, let me say to you, when the Greeks and other people mention Ethiopia, they were talking about most of the time they were talking about Kush, but they were also talking about southern Kemet. They were also talking sometimes even about the rest of the African continent. So some of this becomes a little confusing when we look at names. Just keep in mind, we're talking about something that occurred over thousands of years, and names change. And so that's another reason why we should look at this more clearly. Yashi says, good explanation, thanks. Although I still think vanity became a huge issue, maybe because their foreign influence and admiration of them. You already know, if you know me, you know what I'm going to say. If you think that vanity is an issue, I would love for you to show me what makes you think that. What in what you've read makes you think that vanity is the reason why they built those things? That's not the way that I look at the monuments of Kemet. But definitely it's something that we can discuss. Okay, definitely. Did an amazing plantation tour while you were there. Very impactful. Yes, Senaton. I need to know whether you want to go back to New Orleans, and I also need to know whether you're going or not. I would love to know what you did when you were there, because I know and I respect your mind, and also your historical appreciation. So if you saw some stuff that you thought was amazing there, help a brother out. Let me know what you thought was impactful so I can do those things too. And I would love to convince you, and maybe even now I'm probably gonna get you in trouble, but maybe your queen and your wonderful kids who I've had the occasion of meeting. It would be wonderful if we did some family stuff there too. I think it'd be fun. Kenneth Soup 63. I think we need to be convinced that we're going to do that, definitely. And Senatot says Mardi Gras 2016. You mean 2026? Yes. Now listen, when I say I'm not going to do the debauchery, that doesn't mean I don't want to see Mardi Gras. We know, if you've been a regular participant in Kemetic Ascension, if you've been part of this family, you should know that New Orleans and some of its practices come, particularly when we talk about Mardi Gras, comes directly from ancient Kemetic practices. That is amazing. I would love, I think I would be flying for weeks if I was able to do a presentation in New Orleans on the Kemetic origins of Mardi Gras. I have studied it for years, and I think it would be fascinating. So definitely, I think it's something we should talk about. There are issues about TikTok data and where it goes. Yeah, I really was concerned about that. Maybe I still am concerned about it. I just think that there's such a large community there that it may be worth the risk of some of the data. Because I really do think that so many people are there, and we need to be able to do that. An overnight tour of the Masonic Cemetery? Oh my goodness. Woo! This sounds interesting. Said Rich says that he's interested. Is there a source for the black soil for Kemet? You mean in terms of the name of Kemet? Yes. But even though I believe that we can find in writing that when the word Kemet was used, they were talking about black soil, I don't want to make you think that I am saying that they were only talking about black soil. Our Kemetic, when we look at Kemetic culture and spirituality, we can see that it should be considered in many ways to be like a poetry in some ways. And as we know, that means that things can have dual meanings. They can interact in very interesting ways. It's not a linear way to describe things. And so, yes, I think that we can prove that there is a source. I would have to go through some things to be able to show it to you. I don't have it ready right now. Let's see. ATL for sure. Kimberly Blue. Ankan Ma'at to you. Coming from the DMV. Still rocking Strong Island. Been with Kemetic Ascension for 3 years. Yes, one of our full members. Ankan Ma'at. Sinette Kimberly. Question about altars. Can I make one altar for several divine energies, or do I have to make one altar for each one? Honestly, I believe that having an altar with all of the energies is amazing, but if you're really focusing in on something, sometimes it is helpful to have more than one. It helps activate something within yourself, and perhaps even within the universe that we exist in. So I would suggest that if you're able, do more than one, but don't not do an amazing altar because you're waiting. Does that make sense? Don't do that. But if you are really trying to work on something, perhaps you are working on maybe you're writing something and you're speaking to Jehuti about with asking for assistance with erudite thought um, and assisting you with the proficiency in the written word. Maybe I would say that you should consider doing one specifically. Jutu Bismillah Hotep, Ankin Ma'at to you, fully initiated member for 5 years, 5 months living in Cornwall, Ontario, class of Rakas Hashem, Ankin Ma'at to you, Ankin Ma'at, Ankin Ma'at. Ankin Ma'at to Durante, I hope I'm saying that right, Ankin Ma'at and Anku Jasaned to you. Ankin Ma'at to Michael Guess, speaking more about my journey, a younger man that make mistakes. I'm not even sure which comment you're referring to, Shane. But speaking more of my journey from a younger man that might make mistakes to an older man might still make mistakes from time to time would be, you think talking about that? Yeah, I think that would be. And I'm thinking that we need to resurrect ancient wisdom daily. So yes, I would do that. Is there benefit to staring at hieroglyphs? I have found benefit from looking at them. I often simply look at them, look at particular glyphs that have particular meaning to me. I do that very often. And so perhaps I wouldn't just stare at just anything necessarily, but definitely that's how I would approach it. I have done that before. It also said for all the ancestors, I put up food, drinks, and even birth. No person currently living are on it. Yes, so you have an ancestral altar. Yes, but I think that he's speaking to an altar for different divine energies, I think. And so some of that. Now, listen, your altar is art, right? It is more art than it is a literal thing. And so you should do what works for you. But I think that if you speak to altar practitioners from across the known world, you're going to see similarities in what works for people. So definitely we should do that. And I definitely should look of that. I love being proven wrong, Brother Rory. I think I'll think of some examples. Okay, yeah. No, I think that we should have a discussion. It may not even be about whether one is wrong or right. It may just be an interesting discussion regarding the vanity of Kemet being evinced in the building of Mirkutu or pyramids. Baton Rouge, Louisiana Google said that LSU, Louisiana University, may have the oldest pyramids in history of the Egyptians' pyramids. Not true. What? There are no Mirkutu in the Americas that are older than those that are in Kemet. Did you hear what I said? There are no Mirkutu in the Americas. I'm talking about North, Central, and South that are older than those that are in Kemet. Let me just be clear about that. Christianity teaches us to be ashamed of our past decisions, but I feel that we don't want to hear enough about our belief system treats our individual past. Yes, I believe that. Yes. Shane, you're on exactly the same part of the discussion that I think that I would take it from. I think that what we need to do is think more about how to maintain divine balance rather than feeling ashamed about things that we've done in the past. Now, shame is a very powerful emotion, right? Very powerful. It may help us right the ship. It may help us do things that are appropriate later. But I would argue that we should look at being out of balance, out of divine balance, a little differently than some people do. Because sometimes when you feel shame, when you feel regret, what it does is it makes people do some really unbalanced things because that feeling is not as motivational as it perhaps should be. You did turning fork rituals at the Katina Mass grave. Truly an experience that is amazing. What's a good source for philosophy within the Kemetic tradition? I would honestly say to you that a nice small but powerful compendium is the work that Maulana Karenga did, called the Husia. So that, and it goes in and out of print. So if I was going to get a copy, what I would do is I would look, I would stock a copy, because I don't think that you should spend a whole lot of money on getting a copy of the Husia, particularly because that money ain't going to Maulana Karenga. But I would stock it, and probably not pay more than $25 or $30 for it, although I have seen them for considerably more. They do have a cemetery. I don't know if I can make that. We visit a voodoo museum. Woo! Oh my goodness, Senator Todd. You're trying to make me pack my bags. This sounds really, there's a voodoo museum? Are you serious? Oh, I need to go. I need to go. Senator Todd, come on now. When we gonna go? When we gonna go? I want you to be there. If you're willing to go again, let's go. Let's all go and take a trip. Okay? I think that would be amazing. New Cam, Hotep to you. Society come on Tare. Peace, peace, peace. Kemezi, peace. Would you do open interviews? What's the best way to contact me? The best way to contact me is probably to text me. But if you email me, I'll send you my my number. Very soon, I'm going to be talking with some folks in the shrine. We've had some conversations about me having someone that might assist with some of that, having someone who manages communication, because with all the things I do, I don't often do that well. Some of you who have tried to reach me are probably either laughing or gritting your teeth with me saying that. But I want you to hear that I know that it can be a challenge, because I'm pulled in a lot of different directions, just because I do a lot of different things, right? I'm not one of those individuals who has my shrine be my form of income, nor would I want it to be. Just because I think that sometimes that creates a very unbalanced thing where you're not doing what is divinely offered, rather than simply looking to how to get bucks out of people. And I don't want to be in that situation. But that does mean that I have to do lots of other things to live. And I live in New York, as you know, which is a very expensive place. So it does mean that I am all over the place sometimes. Having someone manage communications for the shrine and for me would be very helpful. So we're working on that soon. Akhenaten left because the priests were becoming vain and worshiping a big golden cows. I've not seen anything in the ancient record that substantiates that. It might be something someone wrote, but I would always ask, well, where'd they get that from? And so I would challenge that. I've not seen that from Akhenaten at all. And if no one in Kemet worships a cow, no one in Kemet worships a cow. There were statues of cows, and those statues were symbolic of many divine energies. But no one worships a statue. No one worships an animal. It's part of the divine symbolism. Now, are there some people that might have been confused about that? You will always, in every nation, in all times, you will have higher level practitioners and maybe practitioners that are working on a more basic level. That is just the reality. And so I just have to say that in reading the ancient texts, I've not seen anything like that, nor have I seen anything from Akhenaten himself that says that he felt that way about people. He had a different perspective on spirituality, and we can argue why he did, but I don't think that we can substantiate that that's why he did that. Ankamato Anjai Bryant. I almost said Onaje, because I always mess up Anjai's name. Ankan Ma'at to you. I believe you're coming to us from NJ. Ankan Ma'at, near Philly, I think is where you are. Ankan Ma'at to you, and it's good to see you. Sickness of those influences called African Indigenous Eternal Islanders. What man is there starting? Yeah, there's a lot of issues. Well, listen, we've had a great conversation. I want to move towards what we're supposed to speak to today. And I think that we're going to, it's one of the things that we've been talking about, have more time for us to talk about lots of issues. I see Tall God Heru says, what has voodoo done to advance Black people in any way, shape, or form? That's a valid question. I think we could probably point to some instances where people were using African-based spiritualities and it did benefit them. The easiest one I would point to is just looking at the Haitian Revolution, which clearly I think virtually any historian would acknowledge that there were high-level practitioners who were at the forefront of that movement. So that's what I would argue. So, but we have to talk about all of that. Marrying a sibling was what Royal Kemet got from the Anu. Possibly. But we'll talk more about that and what you mean by it. Luxor sucks anyway, cheaper than other places on the strip, but not cheap enough. Oh, you talking about the Luxor Museum in the Luxor Hotel. Brother Shade, send Shade. In this gathering, you got to be clear. You talk about the Luxor in Las Vegas. Because some people might be like, what? Is he insulting Wasset in Kemet? Right? So, yeah. I think it's all interesting. I did an actual, a small mini documentary on the Luxor Hotel, and it was never released, and I need to make sure that we release it. So let's move. Ankh and Ma'at to all of you. I'm sure that some of you, Tehuti showed primary sources of Kemites worshiping the statue of Ramses III just yesterday. I'm not sure which Tehuti you're referring to. But I would love to see those sources. And I also believe that it depends on who you're, I don't know exactly who you're referring to. I would love to see that. And if it's a Tehuti I think you're talking to, I don't know whether he's able to investigate primary sources. I've never seen him investigate primary sources before. But let's talk about it. Please let me know what you're referring to. And by the way, in here, why don't you tell me which Tehuti you're talking about, where he was referring to, where he showed that, so I can look at it myself as well, and we'll look at that. Okay, there were military masterminds, not voodoo masters. Please show us evidence to the contrary if you have it. That's a dangerous. Listen, you can. It's possible, Tall God Heru, for more than one thing to be true at the same time. I'm not suggesting that all that was at play was all that we're talking about is something that was the product of Vodun rather than the product of military strategy. It's possible to have more than one thing true at the same time. Just a few days ago, it was hot and it rained, but it doesn't necessarily mean that when it rains, it's always going to be hot. And you said respectfully, you know which Tehuti, LOL, respectfully. There are many Tehutis, Tall God Heru. I know many of them. The one who handed you an L on Sonnetter, I can share the link. By the way, I don't even know why you would say anyone handed anyone an L. Tehuti and I had a conversation. Look at that discussion. A debate does not occur that way. And I know that you're believing that it does. We were not in a debate. At the beginning of the conversation, it was very clear it was not a debate. He asked to speak to me. In a debate, what happens is that both parties have a topic, they prepare, and they discuss something. Tehuti said he wanted to talk to me. So when he's representing that as a debate, Tall God Heru, I think you need to ask yourself, why is he doing that? And the reason why he's doing that is because he would like to say that he succeeded in some form or fashion. And I have already said if he believes that's the case and he'd like to debate, we can. But that's certainly not what occurred. And I have never seen him show a primary source. So I would love for that conversation to occur. But if you can, yeah, and please keep it respectful, because we're not arguing with each other. And even with your comment, I'm not arguing with you, right? But you should know, and I don't know whether you are part of a Kemetic community. I can name 14 or 15 people that have the name Jehuti. There are people in this very room who have that name who you're not referring to. Maybe you're not as familiar with the Shrine of Ma'at community, because there are a lot of people and Tehuti and Jehuti are very common names in this community. So um, I think that we should acknowledge that, okay? And we should talk. I mean, I think that we should talk. Do you see Jehuti Mes Ma'at Hotep? His name is Tehuti. Jehuti Mes is Tehuti. So I just want you to understand. You should say, you know who I'm talking about. There are a bunch, even in here. So there's some things that you should learn about, and when you do, it would be helpful. Okay. Uh, Tilti Amen Hotep Ra showed you a primary source of a net or a son of his head. Showed me a primary source? No, he didn't. No, I showed that primary source. Tall God Heru, let's speak outside of this. This is not really the forum for this conversation. And I'm not suggesting that we're having an argument. I just think we need to have a discussion. And that's not something that we'll be able to do in here. So we'll do that. So definitely that's something that we'll do. Okay. So let me continue here. Send Larry Henderson, Anken Ma'at to you. It's wonderful that you're there. Can we go ahead and do what we're supposed to do? Let's do the opening of the way. So what I'd like to do is share the link. And from here, Dwa Sanet Benita, there is the link. Please go ahead and if someone loved to come in and do the opening the way, it would be amazing. If not, I will run it myself. But you know that it is better when we do this collaboratively. Let's do this together, because the Kemetic Ascension is not my gathering, it's our gathering. So if there's someone that would love to come in, that would be great. And Tall God Heaven, you said he absolutely did, but we can leave it there. I don't want you to leave it there. I'm just saying let's have a conversation outside of this setting. I'd love to talk to you about what you're talking about. I'm not trying to silence you. I'm just saying this is not the place for a full discussion of that. So please send me the link. My email is jed@shrineofma'at.org. Or you can, you know what, because it's not necessarily shrine business, how about I send you just my personal email. I'll put it here. It's jabarielsaze@hotmail.com. Send me the link. I would love to talk to you more about what you're saying. There's no reason for it to be adversarial, and we'll just talk about it. And I know you're saying he showed a primary. Maybe he did. I'm not aware of him using them. If you believe that he did, and I'm not unaware of it, I am not arguing that I'm aware of everything that occurs on the internet. Who in the world would make that claim? So please share the information, and we'll talk more about it. Okay, definitely. But I'm going to say to you, I want you to know that I am a professor of African history. I've been studying ancient Kemetic history for over 30 years, now more than 35 years. I have taken 25 study trips to Kemet. I just want you to know that when it comes to sources, there are a few sources that I'm not familiar with. And the one that you're referring to doesn't do what I know what you're referring to. It doesn't do what you think it does. It does not. Just be cautious. I think you know who you're talking to, right? Okay, I think you do. So let's do that, and it'll be helpful. So, but let's have that conversation. It'll be great. I think I see Senjehuti Mess coming in. Anken Ma'at to you. I'm so happy that you're here. Let's see if can I make you larger? No, it's not working that way.
If I turn to the side?
Let's do it that way. That's better. There we go.
Better?
That's better. No, it wasn't your phone. It was more the selection I chose to put you in.
Okay.
And I just want to make sure we're able to see you. And let me say Dwa once again for you coming in to do the opening of the way. I'm
Thank you.
so honored that you continue to come to assist us in Kemetic Ascension in doing that. And it's amazing to see you. Please go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, so brothers and sisters, Senu, my name is Sen Jehuti Mus Ma'at Hotep. I'm a proud member of the Shrine of Ma'at, class of Rock Ascension. I'm living in Cornwall, Ontario, Canada. And yes, my name is also Jehuti. And so today, we'll move past that. Today, of course, members of the Shrine of Ma'at are always wearing white and sometimes orange as well on Sundays to give honor and reverence to the nature Ra. And today we're going to be doing the opening of the way ceremony put into its current configuration by our shrine elder, Baba Heru Ankra Samaj Se Patah of the Shrine of Patah, from whence we come. And so we're going to be doing a few things today. And remember, as Hemnetter and Tepi always says, this is not theater. So please stand if you're able to, or you can sit in place and try to follow after us and sing along if you will. Okay, so in the standing position, my left foot is going to be slightly forward. My right foot is going to be slightly back. My left hand, so my hands will be extended. My left hand will be slightly forward. My right hand will be slightly back. I'll just turn to the side so you can see what that looks like spatially. The wrists won't be broken or bent. We don't see that on in the Medunater on the walls of Kemet and elsewhere, but they are slightly like so. And this is going to be called the pose of adoration that you will see in the Medunater, the hieroglyphs as it were. We're going to begin by saying the word for everlasting life, which is Ankh, Ankh, and we're going to do that after taking our divine everlasting breath. Please repeat after me. Oh. On the truck in bedhead,
On the truck in bedhead,
nuke in bedhead,
nuke in bedhead,
on the truck happy,
on the truck hoppy,
nuke happy,
nuke hoppy,
to our winter.
wow, enter.
Quarter turn to your right. On the truck circuit,
On the truck circuit,
nuke circuit,
nuke circuit,
on the truck kebsenuf,
on the truck kebsenu,
nuke kebsenuf,
nuke kebsenu,
to our winter.
wow, enter.
Quarter turn to your right. On the truck offset,
On the truck us,
nuke offset,
nuke asset,
on the truck set,
on the truck set,
nuke set,
nuke set,
to our winter.
wow, enter.
Quarter turn to your right. On the truck neat,
On the truck neat,
nuke neat,
nuke neat,
on the truck duamutef,
on the truck dwamutef,
nuke duamutef,
nuke dwamutef,
to our winter.
wow, enter.
Quarter turn back to the front. On the truck newt,
On the truck newt,
nuke newt,
nuke newt,
on the truck geb,
on the truck geb,
nuke geb,
nuke geb,
to our winter.
wow, enter.
On the truck poutin teru,
On the truck potenteru,
nuke poutin teru,
potenteru,
on the truck and booin teru,
on the truck and buenteru,
nuke and booin teru,
nuke and buenteru,
to our winter.
wow, enter.
Take
Did
your
we
knee.
do shoe and tefnut?
Oh, excuse me. On the truck, uh, shoe,
Shoe. On the truck shoe,
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 Nuke Shoe,
Nuke Shoe,
on the truck, Tefnut,
on the truck, Tefnut,
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 Nuke,
Nuke,
Tefnut,
Tefnut,
to our winter.
Tuau winter,
On the truck, Pautinteru,
on the truck, Pautinteru,
Nuke, Pautinteru,
Nuke, Pautinteru,
on the truck, and Buinteru,
on the truck and Boo Interu,
Nuke, and Buinteru,
can Boo Interu,
to our winter.
Tuau winter.
Take your divine breath. Oh, oh. Wow, nature.
Tuau Interu. Oh, dwa, 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 dwa.
Yes.
Dwa, 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 dwa. Dwa for leading us and coming in and leading us all the time. It is so helpful that you've come in and really assisted us in having our gatherings be look the way that they should look. Dwa, I must say dwa to you again for continually offering yourself to do that.
Well, I'm honored. Thank you for changing my life in a positive way, and I
Oh,
served you and the Shroud of Ma'at until my last breath. Dua nature.
dwa, 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 dwa. We'll speak soon.
Okay, Shema Matep.
Shalom Matep. Family, I'm so pleased that we have Senjutim has come in and assist us. And you should know there's so many others of you who are full members of the shrine. Come on in and help us do it on occasion. It would be very helpful. By the way, before we do our final affirmation, someone might come in and do an affirmation as well. Just let me know, okay? I would love for you to do that. It would be wonderful for you to do that. Okay. With that, you know that we usually go into what we call Hesi. We go into what we call Hesi at this point in our gathering. And I want to keep it simple today. When I was returning from our walk, and even when I was going to the Tekken, I took the group to the Tekken yesterday in Central Park. I remember just chanting Uncle Seneb. This is the no frills Kemetic Hesi, right? I would love for us to just do a bit of that today because it keeps us grounded. It's really simple and it does not always have to be complex. Please help us by doing this Hesi together. So we're going to take a breath. And usually we chant Ankuja Sene, Ankuja Sene, Ankuja Sene, Ankuja Sene, Ankuja Sene, life, strength, and health, Ankuja Sene. Uncle Josene, 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 Uncle Josene. Very simple. Just remember that it does not always have to have all the bells and whistles. It's wonderful to have other Hesi. But sometimes when you're just moving around and you want to remain in the heights, keep it simple. It's one of the ways that I would argue we're able to remain in the heights. And dua to send Tahuti forever. Here is William Humphrey saying that's my favorite. It's very simple, and you should use it. Now listen, when we're walking to the Tekken, if you've had the opportunity of being in New York and doing that with us, something very interesting happens. As you walk to the Tekken, you have to go through what is called, well, you often have to go. Depends on which way you approach the Tekken. But the most common way to approach the Tekken is to go through an area called Gray Whack Arch. The acoustics in there are amazing. And that's usually where I would chant Anku Jasaneb. And I remember doing with Baba many, many years ago. We literally stopped and chanted for some time before going further. And I just want to say to you that it's one of those things that you can do because it's also simple. One of the things that it allows you to do is go into the meditative state. You don't have to remember what you're saying. And other people, what you're able to do is when you say Anku Ja Seneb, they'll start. Actually, when you get to Ankh, they'll start with Ankh. And then maybe you'll have another group. When they start with Uja, they start with So you're singing Ankh Uja Seneb to start. By the time you get to Uja, they start with Ankh, the second group. And then by the time that second group gets to Uja, another group starts with Ankh. What ends up happening is you create this wall of divine sound. And I'm just thinking that if you practice and even practice with others, it can be a very beautiful thing to experience. And so please bring Hesi into your toolbox of spiritual um, tools. You want to create the ability for you to draw from many, many things to assist yourself. I see Jahim Ray says, what does it mean? It's one of the reasons why I broke into English for a quick second and I said life, strength, and health. Anku Jasaneb means life, strength, and health. Very simple. But it is one of those chief Hesi blessings prayers. You will see it written in the ancient text. It'll simply say Anku Jasaneb. In fact, there are some practitioners that have even abbreviated it to Us. Aus. I know that members of our sister shrine do that as well. And Aus is Ankh Uja Seneb. Some of you may not have known that. I hope I'm not revealing something that they didn't want you to know. But basically, you should understand that is something that we do. And we often also see people put AUS when they're writing. And that's one of the things that you'll see practitioners do. Ankh Uja Seneb. Okay. With that, I want to get into our discussion for today. You know what I'm going to say because I say it all the time, and everyone who hears it gets a good kick at it because I often say, I would like for you to know that I'm not planning on being here long with you. And people laugh because I can be long-winded, and so certainly that is often a reason to get a chuckle. But my plan is not to be here that long. I want to share a little bit of information with you. Today we're talking about the importance of us attempting to protect women. Our ultimate aim is also to ensure that, just as we see in the Kemetic tradition, that divine femininity is as important as divine masculinity, perhaps even more important than divine masculinity. We have to be sure that what we are doing is we are always recognizing that our sisters are our equal. And I had a very interesting conversation with a pastor. And he said some things that I thought were interesting. He said some things In fact, some of you who are Sarnetta TV watchers might have seen it. He said some things I thought were really interesting. I think he's a very interesting guy. We had a respectful conversation. And I honestly believe that one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to him is because of some things that he said about women preaching, women leading. And I want to say to you, it comes directly from the Bible, but should we be following that? As people of African descent, should we be following that? It is really easy for us to see that people will continue to say things about women that are negative. And I want to say it is replete in our community. We see it in Christianity, we see it in Islam, we see it in Judaism, and yes, we also see it by people who claim to be practitioners of the Kemetic tradition. It is a problem. It is a problem. So I first want to start with a brief portion of our conversation. This is Dr. Olu Shabazz, who is going to talk about something that I wanted to be honest, take him to task on. He believes that women should not be able to preach or teach in the church. And I want to play you something that was on CNN. I believe this is yesterday, so that you can see the direction that people in Christianity, some leaders in Christianity, may be going in. And it ain't just in our community. We have to guard ourselves against saying things that can be seen as negative with regard to women. We must. We must. And I see some of you even mentioning the conversation that Sonnetter had with Shaka Amos. I'm going to say to you, I have no interest in arguing with Shaka at all. He is my brother. We don't always agree with everything, but I do believe that the presentation he gave might have focused too much on critiquing women, and even critiquing women for things that men have done, saying, well, they raised them. We have a lot of work to do. I think we have to be very cautious because misogyny is easy. So I want you to look at this piece, and hopefully what you'll do is you'll be able to hear the direction it's going in, and then we'll be able to talk about it briefly. Take a listen. So let's see. I'm going to share the screen. I wonder if I should share the tab. You might be able to hear better if I share the tab. Let's do that. Okay, please take a listen to this section of my conversation with Dr. Olu Shabazz, who is the minister. I would say that he is the pastor, but he doesn't use the word pastor. What I'm trying to say is that he is the leader. He is the head of the Harlem Church of Christ. Take a listen to this section of what he is referring to with regard to the role of women in the church. Take a listen.
The Prince of Peace, the everlasting, that kind of verbiage, I think, but I do push back. The Trinitarian doctrine is a mess. It's a mess. And it does leave the idea that Christendom is teaching three gods. You know, Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Yeah.
You are a unique pastor, man. I mean,
well, can I tell you this?
A lot of preachers don't agree with that, what you're saying. They say that Jesus is God.
Yeah, I know, man.
He's good with that. That's what makes him interesting. He's like,
no, that's Jesus.
He's like, let's sit down and read the book.
Listen, man. Yeah, I mean, I've discussed this with, I ain't scared. Listen, man, I don't have to act a fool.
Right.
Where has happened to the ability of Black men to sit down and discuss when we differ?
That's right.
Without disrespect. That's right.
That's right. That's right.
And what I was saying, maybe you got something wrong. Maybe I got something right. Maybe I don't agree with you. Maybe you don't agree with nothing I said. I don't have to disrespect
That's
you.
right. That's right.
You know what I mean? And I ain't gonna give up.
That's right.
I ain't pulling back.
That's right.
That's
right. That's
but the fact of the matter, man, I've had these discussions for years with the apostolics, with Kojak, with for years, man. I had my brother-in-law. Hey, brother-in-law, in case you're watching, I love you. We've been discussing this. He's been married to my sister for 40 years.
Now, see, this gets back to the question I was asking in the beginning.
That's right. That's what I want.
Because your sister is a preacher, too,
Yeah, she is.
Ooh.
She's a denominational pastor.
and you said she shouldn't preach.
The Bible says she should not
Yeah,
preach.
he didn't say that. The Bible said it.
The Bible says you should not preach. And let me tell you something. You can't find one instance from the day the church was established on the first Pentecost after the resurrection of Jesus in AD 33 in Acts chapter 2, all the way to the book of Revelation in AD 90, where there is one woman preacher. Not one. Not two. You can't find one.
Here's my challenge.
Okay?
Someone decided which books would be there.
That's another
What's
discussion.
the role of
We're going to have to
Thecla?
discuss
How about
that.
Thecla? How do you feel about Thecla?
Yeah, we'll have to discuss
How
that.
do you feel about Thecla?
About
You're
her?
a learned man. I know you know who Thecla is.
I'm not sure I do.
No?
I'm not sure I do.
I think that we have to understand that some of what we're reading as one book is not.
No, hold on.
Now, Thecla
It is only
not
one
the
book.
assistant of Paul.
Yeah, check this out.
Female.
It is on, huh?
She's a woman.
Who?
Thecla.
Oh, okay.
Paul has
Okay.
her do the baptism.
Oh, you're using a different.
What
you're
name are
saying
you familiar with?
Aquila. Is that what
No,
you're saying?
Thecla is her. Thecla is the name.
Okay, fine.
But I would argue
She
that
is-
Thecla is not one that we read about in the Bible because
Okay.
the men that put it together, someone like Athanasius, said, we don't want her in there. That's my argument.
Here's the litmus test. If the audiences to whom those writings were originally written rejected them, my question is, upon what basis do you accept them? That is a litmus test. The audience to whom
That's a fair question.
the originals were written to, and you already know we have no original autographs
That's right.
today,
That's right.
which is equivalent. It's not an
That's right.
argument,
That's right.
but we have no original autographs.
That's right.
But the first litmus test is if the audience to whom it was originally written did not accept it then upon what basis?
But I would say to you that the audiences did not reject them. I would say that what we actually see, excellent book called Jesus Wars. I've been telling people to read Jesus
I've
Wars
heard it. I've heard
for like 15 years.
Yeah, I've
And
heard
most people just say, oh, it sounds interesting, they never read it.
Yeah.
What ends up happening, Jesus Wars describes how the church becomes the church, because the Bible doesn't really tell us a lot about the church, right?
In what
The
context?
Bible-
In what
I mean, we're talking about these pastoral epistles,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's 3 books.
Yeah.
We have this gigantic text that gives us the background for Jesus coming to give the word to the people, the actual physical form of the word that comes from God, that brings this tradition. We can argue all of that, but it doesn't tell us about the history of what happened, exactly how the church was created. For that, you have to look outside of the Bible, fortunately or unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because the Bible is not a history book, as you said earlier. The Bible's a book that's
Of course,
help us figure out how the heck to live.
Right.
So maybe that doesn't matter to most
To that
people,
extent,
and I understand that part, right?
Yeah.
But I'm saying that we have texts that were beloved by groups of Christians that were literally and figuratively annihilated by the patriarchy, by men who were trying to make Christianity the religion that would allow them to be powerful.
Now, let me, because you're talking about going into the empirical area when there was empiricalism. Well, I'm getting ready to tell you something that's going to shock you. And what I'm about to say is not very popular.
Right.
You're describing to me what I call sectarian denominational Christianity. It is in no sense pure apostolic Christianity. The councils, and I'm going to differentiate, as you know, dating back to the early church fathers, over and against the anti-post and the post-Nicene fathers. We're talking about 3 different groups of scholastic minds who inform us about early Christian. This is sectarian, denominational Christianity, out of which came Roman Catholicism, out of which came the moral majority of sectarian and denominational, sometimes bordering cultish groups that call themselves Christianity in the United States of America. They're everything but Christian, is what they are. But I want to go back to a dynamic premise. You struck the passion in me that you hit before.
Right.
The Bible is not just one book. I know that you mean that in a little bit different way than I'm going to articulate. The word Bible comes from the Chaldean Hebrew word biblos, which means book. And those 39 books of the Old, 27 of the New, all together make one biblos. And I get that you disagree with the authenticity of the authors or the fact that there are individuals who chose which of those books were. I don't believe that. But at any rate, I think that's been attempted. I do. But I do not believe that with any great success that ultimately happened. But nonetheless, when I say the book, the biblos, I'm talking about how these, and they form one book because it's all one story.
So what about the books that are not there? Have you read them?
It depends on what you have to tell me which ones you're talking about, because you know
there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them. So no, I haven't read all of them. But you've probably heard
anyone's read all of them.
Yeah, well, yeah, but a lot of them. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I don't know if you were here or your brother was. My brother was here this morning when I said I encourage this church to read everything.
Right.
Yes, I was.
That's a healthy position.
Read everything. I've got to read what is antithetical to my convictions. I'm serious about this. I don't plan on trying to give you answers when I don't understand the question.
Right. Okay.
And next time you and I meet, you're going, so you have learned something about Kemetism. You see what I'm saying? But why?
So I want us to listen to what he was saying. I think I love that we were able to have a respectful dialogue, but this issue is one that we're going to continue to see. I was challenging him on the idea that women should not preach. And I want to say, I'm going to show it to you in a little bit. It comes from somewhere. It is in that compendium of books that we call the Bible now. And I think that we have to get to the point where we recognize that the Bible is not one book. Why was I saying that to him? Because we have to also understand that the book that he is referring to, that we are referring to, has some text that we perhaps will agree with and others that we will not. That's fundamentally something that I think we have to reckon with. That there are some things that are in there that we may not agree with. But instead, what many have done is they've assumed the entire thing is, as you've heard, the Word of God. If it is the Word of God, why is it that we have some books that we have earlier versions of that are different than the other versions that we have later? Are you telling me that God also came back and said, oh, wait, I made a mistake? Like when you read the New York Times or a newspaper and they say, we need to actually make a correction. God makes corrections. The book was written by a group of men, some of them who I believe are wise, and some of them I question their ability to deal with fundamental balance and wisdom. And I think that when we think that the Bible is one book, we have a problem. There's another part of the conversation that Dr. Shabazz and I had where I was talking to him about the fact that almost all scholars now understand that some of the books that were attributed to Paul were clearly not written by a person that we believe is Paul. And that is also if we argue that Paul is a literal historical person. I believe that someone named Paul who did the things that are written in some of those books actually lived. I do believe that that person actually lived. But I think that we should also recognize that many of the books that have been attributed to him are not his. And scholars now call them Deutero-Pauline books. That's a fancy way of saying someone else wrote it and said he did. Deutero-Pauline. We scholars for the Bible have found really nice ways of saying things that if their parishioners were aware of what they were saying, they would be probably offended. But with regard to the role of women, one of the reasons why I knew I needed to talk about this today is that I saw this on CNN. This issue that I am discussing with Dr. Shabazz is one that is really plaguing the entire nation. Take a listen to this CNN report and see if you don't see some similarities in what Dr. Olu Shabazz said and what this pastor, who is likely and I don't know if I don't think I would say this about Shabazz, but this man is clearly a misogynist and probably even a white Christian nationalist. And he has a large bully pulpit that he is working from now. Take a listen.
Described Christian nationalists on a mission to make the United States a Christian nation and the entire world a Christian world. Over the decades, he's built an international network of more than 150 churches. Last month, he opened a new one just 3 blocks from Capitol Hill, with the Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, attending the service. Pastor Wilson preaches a strict interpretation of the Bible. He believes women should submit to their husbands and not have the right to vote. In his view, abortion, homosexuality are criminal. He's been on the fringes of the religious right for decades, but now finds more of a mainstream Republican audience. CNN's Pamela Brown reports.
Christchurch senior pastor Doug Wilson makes no apologies for his beliefs on God and country.
I'd like to see the town be a Christian town. I'd like to see the state be a Christian state. I'd like to see the nation be a Christian nation. I'd like to see the world be a Christian world.
And now Wilson's controversial views as a Christian nationalist are gaining sway in the nation's center of power with the recent opening of his new church and high-profile parishioners like Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth.
Is planting a church in D.C. part of your mission to try to turn this into a Christian nation?
Yes. So every society is theocratic. The only question is who's theo. In a secular democracy, it would be demos, the people. In a Christian republic, it'd be Christ.
Well, what would you say to someone watching this and say, look, I'm a Muslim. Who are you to say your worldview is better than mine, that your God is better than mine?
Well, if I went to Saudi Arabia, I would fully expect to live under their God's rules.
But you said earlier that you want this to be a Christian world.
Yes.
So you want to supplant their religion with your Christian.
Yes, by peaceful means, by sharing the gospel. There's a lot of work yet to do. I believe that we are working our little corner of the vineyard.
Wilson's Little Corner, a picturesque campus nestled on the outskirts of downtown Moscow, Idaho, is growing by the day with thousands of like-minded Christians. Parishioners of his church, known as Kirkers, own and operate several businesses downtown, next to liberal college town stores.
If it's true.
Why did y'all do it?
Because of you. Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah.
That's a regular day for you.
That's not unusual.
A big focus of his Christian movement is on a patriarchal society where men are dominant and women are expected to submit to their husbands.
Women are the kind of people that people come out of.
So you just think they're meant to have babies. That's it. They're just a vessel.
No, it doesn't take any talent to simply reproduce biologically. The wife and mother, who is the chief executive of the home, is entrusted with 3 or 4 or 5 eternal souls.
I'm here as a working journalist and I'm a mom of 3.
Good for you.
Is that an issue for you?
No, it's not automatically an issue.
Josh and Amy Prince, along with their 4 kids, moved here from Washington State.
Do you see Amy as your equal?
Yes and no, in the sense that we're both saved by grace. We're absolutely on equal footing, but we have very different purposes, God-given.
But do you see yourself as the head of the household, as the man?
He is the head of our household. Yes, and I do submit to him.
So, like, moving here
I was just going to say
ultimately
that.
your decision.
Yes,
That's a great
example.
Wilson says in his vision of a Christian society, women as individuals shouldn't be able to vote. His fellow pastors Jared Longshore and Toby Sumter agree.
In my ideal society, we would vote as households. And I would ordinarily be the one that would cast the vote, but I would cast the vote having discussed it with my household.
But what if there's your wife doesn't want to vote for the same
Right.
person as you?
Right. Well, then that's a great opportunity for a good discussion.
There are some who have gone so far as to say that they want the 19th Amendment repealed.
I would support that. And I'd support it on the basis that the atomization that comes with our current system is not good for humans.
And Wilson, a veteran himself, is unapologetic about his view that women shouldn't be in certain leadership or combat roles.
Looking at the leadership page for Christ Church, it's all men. Do you accept women in leadership roles in the church and government?
In the church, no.
Why?
Because the Bible says not to.
Well, that's not what happens in the Bible. Women do lead all the time.
Progressive faith leader Reverend Jennifer Butler is concerned about Wilson's growing influence.
He is rapidly gaining in power. He has hundreds of churches established around the country. They actually literally want to take over towns and cities, and they have access to this administration.
Wilson is part of a broader Christian nationalist movement making inroads with the Trump administration, with a newly created faith office led by evangelical pastor Paula White Cain, and people seen right outside the White House entrance praying and speaking in tongues.
We are standing on the soil of the White House, and we are declaring your word.
How precious!
And now there's a monthly prayer service at the Pentagon, initiated by Hegseth, Wilson's highest level connection to the administration.
It's not organizationally tied to us, but it's the kind of thing we love to see.
For his part, Hegseth has publicly praised Wilson.
Now we're standing on the shoulders of a generation later, the Doug Wilsons and the others.
And as Wilson grows closer to the mainstream, the critics are also getting louder, accusing him and other Christian nationalists of wanting to create the dystopian world from The Handmaid's Tale, something he insists has never been his goal for society.
I'm not a white nationalist. I'm not a fascist. I'm not a racist. I'm not a misogynist.
How far off do you see a Christian nation, like a full-on Christian theocracy?
Oh, 250 years.
250 years.
Yeah, honestly, that's yes.
What you see. But you do think it will happen?
Yes, I do. We're not going to usher in anything ourselves. We're really genuinely pioneers.
John, we reached out to the Defense Department to better understand the relationship between Wilson and Hegseth, and a DoD spokesman said that Hegseth is a, quote, proud member of the network of churches founded by Pastor Wilson, and he also said that Hegseth, quote, very much appreciates many of Mr. Wilson's writings and teachings. John?
Pamela Brown, thank you so much. That's fascinating.
So I want us to recognize that something is happening. Something is happening, and it ain't new. We are seeing the role of women once again be questioned. And you might say, well, why should you talk about this, Jabari? That's happening in the Christian world. What does this have to do with us? I want you to recognize that much of what happens in the society affects all of the people in a society. That this certainly is not something that we should believe will leave people of African descent out of it. We heard Dr. Olu Shabazz say that women should not be preachers. By the way, the thing that was so interesting is that his sister is a preacher. He disagrees that his sister should be preaching. I should have played you that one. That video of him saying that in a church in Connecticut is almost 10 years old. That's why Sonetter said that Jabari has been trying to speak to you for almost 8 years, because I told Sonetter, I said, Sonetter was trying to get me to debate somebody. And I said, you know who I really want to talk to about the role of women? Olu Shabazz. He's at this particular church. And Sonetter said, sure. But he had no idea who I was talking about, and he did not make that clear. It wasn't until a few weeks ago he said, you know, I think that we'll have a conversation with the pastor at this particular church. I said, Sonetter, you talking about the church on 127th Street and Malcolm X Boulevard? He said, yeah. I said, listen, I've been trying to get you, because I know that you know him, to set something up. So what you saw was the beginning of what will likely be a series of conversations. Now, I want to say to you very clearly, I have respect for Olu Shabazz. I think that he is a decent and good person. But here's the issue. Decent and good people are being led by a book that will take them out of divine balance. And perhaps this is one of the most strident things you'll hear me say about the Bible. There is much of it that is not in divine balance. Much of it. And one of the challenges that I had for Dr. Shabazz is that he was saying that women should not preach, and part of it was based on a passage, 1 Timothy. 1 Timothy is one of the Deutero-Pauline books. Sometimes they're called the pastoral epistles. These are books that scholars do not believe were written by Paul. But if you take that entire book and you say, this Bible is the word of God. I was looking for the last Bible I was working with, and I put it someplace, probably took it up to the bedroom, was reading some sections. If you actually take that book and say, this is the word of God, so clearly this means everything in it is sacred, everything in it comes from God, we should follow everything in it, you will be disturbed. It's a problem. Am I saying the Bible has no wisdom in it? No, of course I'm not saying that. Particularly when you've heard me say that there are large segments of it that come from African tradition and specifically from ancient Kemet. Specifically from ancient Kemet. But there are other sections that we can make no attestation for it coming from African wisdom. Let's look at this for a second. Some of you have seen me use some of these slides before. And the only reason why I keep using them is because they're still current and pertinent. Look at this. This attests to some of the misogyny that we see in the Bible. Here's part of it. Women have no voice. Men should pray, but, and here's the quote, women adorn themselves in modest apparel, with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with broided hair or gold or pearls or costly array. First of all, I want you to understand that means that women should never be dressed up. Sisters, go to your closet right now and say, these are some of my fanciest clothes. Rip them off the hanger and put them into a trash bin where you will light them. And let's go further. You should not have broided hair. Some of you don't know the word broided. It simply means braided. How in the world could this be an African tradition if they're saying women should not have braided hair? How in the world could we make the argument that this is from African tradition if it is telling you that women should not have broided hair or wear gold or pearls or costly array? What you gonna do with your bamboo earrings, at least 2 pair, queens? Toss them in that same garbage can and light them. That's what we're hearing. Let's continue. Let the woman learn in silence with all subjection. What does the word subjection mean? Did you hear the woman in the video say that she submits to her husband? This is in the same vein. I want one of you to look for the definition of the word subjection and put it in the chat. Let's continue. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. For Adam was first formed, then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression. Notwithstanding, she shall be saved in childbearing, if they continue in faith and charity and holiness with sobriety. So women should not be in leadership because they're basically saying, you know, the first time we trusted a woman, when Eve told Adam to eat from the fruit and to disobey God. So women, you are being punished for that. Because you are the one that followed the devil and took Adam with you. That's what this says. And because of that, you should be in silence. Don't usurp the authority of a man. When that woman says she submits to her husband, submits. He is the leader. In the Kemetic tradition, that couple is a team. The husband just doesn't say, I've heard all of your comments. This is what we're doing. Wife, go warm the car. It doesn't work that way in the African tradition. It does not. But this is the way that it has been recognized based on the Christian tradition. And by the way, for those women who have the pain of childbearing, or even your menstrual cycle when you have pain and agony, did you know that according to the Bible, you are being punished because you're the one that transgressed against God with the snake in the Garden of Eden? Did you know that's the reason why you have pain? It's a continuing punishment. That's what 1 Timothy chapter 2, verses 9 to 15 says. Remember the conversation I was having with Olu Shabazz. 1 Timothy is one of the pastoral epistles. Even if you believe that the Bible has sacredness and holiness and that Paul was a divinely inspired messenger of God, that he was one of the most important apostles of Jesus, even though he never met Jesus in the flesh. You must recognize that biblical scholars no longer believe that these books were actually written by Paul. This should give us enough reason to question what we are reading. Not everything in the Bible was put together at the same time. And so Africans, we should question now what Bible we have gotten. I want you to understand that the current New Testament canon was put together by the Patriarch of Alexandria. Yes, by the way, he was someone who lived in Kemet, but he lived in Kemet long after it had fallen. And this person is known as Athanasius. Now, I'm not saying this is what Athanasius looked like. We don't know exactly what he looked like, but this is the sacred icon that has been used for Saint Athanasius for hundreds of years. He's the one that put together the canon. And Olu Shabazz was not even familiar with many of the books that were not included in the canon. He said there are no female leaders. And I asked him who was Thecla. How could this person who was so studied not know who Thecla is? Thecla was supposed to be the chief assistant of the Apostle Paul. and she was a saint in the early Christian church. Why does he not know about her? Why? Because he has not read the apocryphal biblical book, that's what we should call it, called the Acts of Paul and Thecla. Why did he not read it? Because Athanasius decided that he should not. That's why. And he says that the people actually rejected these books. And he says that because he's unfamiliar with the history of Christianity. He's read the Bible and been well schooled, but he has not read enough about the history of the development of the church. A powerful man decided that Thecla should not be included in that Bible. Please understand that this is what it is. Please understand that that the idea of Thecla was very, very important, and that we know that she played a very important role. In fact, sometimes when Paul was going around in the Acts of Paul and Thecla, Paul submits to Thecla, who baptizes people. And we see this very astute, very learned man, respectful man. I like Dr. Shabazz, but he's unfamiliar with it. Why? Because he believes that the book that he's been given is sacred in and of itself, but he has not questioned how the book came to him. That's the challenge. And by the way, you should know for a very long period of time, people have been saying, wait a minute, women shouldn't be in leadership. What about Thecla? What about Thecla? I hope you understand that this is a very old book, older than some of the books that are in the accepted Bible. It is believed that the first person to mention this book might have been Tertullian, who was the doctor of the church, one of the most respected theologians. And it may have been as early as 190 AD or CE, older than some of the other texts. Older. And as a revered text, you should know that that means that people did not reject it. They did not reject it. I want you to understand that. By the way, this is a fresco, a painting from the 6th century that is meant to be Paul standing with the mother of Thecla. So you're telling me that for 500 years, early Christians revered Thecla? Yes. Doesn't that mean that these texts were not discarded? Yes. Well, why is it that you have not read it? Because, let's be plain, let's make it plain as we can. A powerful white man who wanted to take control of the Christian tradition and use the Christian tradition for his own empowerment, decided you should not know about her. That's what this means. Let's continue. This comes, now I'm going to tell you, it ain't just, when we talk about misogyny, it's not just in Timothy. We see it in other places. We see it in Leviticus. We see it in Genesis. I'm not going to go through them all, but there are lots of sections of the Bible that is given to us, that is given to children, by the way, that we should question. Look at this section that I've titled as a section that deals with the difficulty with female sexuality. This is in Genesis 21:9, and also in Genesis 38:24, and in Leviticus 21:9. It says, and the daughter of any priest, if she profane herself by playing the whore, she profaneth her father, she shall be burnt with fire. So women who are intimate with people who they're not married to should be burnt with fire. It says nothing of the sort for men, by the way. Nothing. Nothing of the sort. How about Deuteronomy 22:21? Then they shall bring out the damsel to the door of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her with stones that she die, because she hath wrought folly in Israel to play the whore in her father's house. So shalt thou put evil away from among you. So if you are caught, by the way, you know, the longer passage says that if you are caught by your husband not being a virgin when you are when you actually are married, that he can hate you, number one, and that if your parents can't prove that you were a virgin, you can be stoned on the doorstep of your father. Now, there are those that say that when Jesus saw a group of men who were planning to harm a woman, he said, let those of you without sin throw the first stone. This might be a reference to that. But if that's the case, then why are you still giving me Genesis and Deuteronomy? If Genesis and Deuteronomy are wrong, then I think we should discard it. Even the Bible itself says that. By the way, when I ask people about that, I say, well, Deuteronomy is said to be written and Genesis to be written by Moses, right? They say yes. So you're saying Moses was wrong. They will not say that. But if you're saying Jesus is saying that you should not do it, then you're saying Moses is wrong. We have lots of problems here, family. Tons of them. Tons of them. I'm not going to go much further into this. It's already late. It's almost 2:30. I want us to recognize that it is of critical importance for us to recognize the leadership of women in our spiritual institutions. You know that the Shrine of Ma'at was founded not only by me, but by former head Hemmet Netter and Tepi Anika Daniels Osaze. While we are no longer in a married relationship, I recognize her role as the founder of the Shrine of Ma'at. And I don't question whether she should have been able to found the shrine. She is a priestess as I am a priest. That's how this works. We should question traditions that say that women should be secondary. That is not our African tradition. That's not how this works. Unless you are listening to powerful white men who are trying to take all of the power from themselves. Dr. Shabazz, I respect you. I like you. But why is it that what you said sounds so similar to what we just heard from the Kecker pastor? Kecker, I think, is the name of the church, correct? Why is it so similar? I think it's because we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do so that we are, Kirker is what it's called. We have to make sure that as those descendants of traditions that viewed women as important as men, as those people who are, when you look at the statistics, pretty much the only people who go to church every week are people of African descent in the United States. As we are the descendants of Africa, we should return to African tradition. And we should be very careful because some of these traditions will lead us astray and continue to lead us astray if we assume that those traditions are good for us. We have many pastors that are now reclaiming the Bible and saying these came from African hands. And I don't doubt that much of what we see in the Bible, that a significant portion of what we see in the Bible came forward by people that we might consider Black today. I'm not questioning that. But I'm saying you have to understand that the decision of which books you'll read was not made by us. But you thought that they would be in control of the tradition for 2,000 years and they wouldn't alter it to suit them? Look around your house or your apartment right now. If someone came into your house or your apartment and stayed there for a week, would you assume, if you were able to get back into your home the week later, that it was in the same condition? Would you just lay in your bed, go into your bathroom, sit on your couch, assuming that it's in the same condition? Or might you assume that those individuals who inhabited your house had defiled it in some way? This is common sense. And sometimes the most common sense gives us the best answer. Family, I am not suggesting that everyone who is in the Christian tradition should leave the Christian tradition. But I am saying if you were truly going to return to your Africanity, you'd be a different type of Christian. And perhaps if you went back to your Africanity, you'd be practicing the traditions of your African ancestor. I'm not saying which one you should practice. Well, as a Kemetic priest, I believe I may be. But that is my personal prerogative. Find yourself again in those traditions that the European power structure sought to defile. And purify them and reclaim them. Don't simply take your house back and assume that they have done nothing in it that you would disagree with. Why I would argue to you that you would be doing something that is nonsensical, antithetical to an intellectual person. It's time for us to take back our traditions, family. It's time for us to return to the source. It's time for us to do the things that our ancestors expected us to do and reclaim their legacy. That is what we must find ourselves in. It is the most ardent task of a modern African. After these hundreds, no, these thousands of years where African traditions have been defiled, Africa is ascendant once more. We are returning to our ancient ways once more. Should we not have a discussion about what we must do as a descendants of those individuals who gave spirituality, who gave consciousness to the world? We must. We must. As I close, I want to say dua to Sen William, who was saying folks how to make a donation. I am not great at that, and I'm glad he reminded me. You can make donations. We don't do this for money, but it certainly takes money to do it. You can make donations via Cash App at $ Ma'at Shrine. You can also make donations to our PayPal account, the email jed@shrineofma'at.org. We need your assistance to allow this to continue to happen, family. And I really hope that you will assist if you can. And we'll be able to do the work that our ancestors expected us to do. With that, for our final affirmation, I must say to you that we will say that affirmation that is one of the oldest affirmations, that affirmation that we have utilized in the Shrine of Ptah and in the Shrine of Ma'at. Sometimes we just simply call it the Amasu. Amasu and Pa and Tur. Sauksu emitra and Pa and Tur. Autu aura maketi pahirura. Keep yourself for the one most high. Every day you should connect yourself to the one most high. I'm translating the words as I go. And do it every day. Do it tomorrow just as you did it today. Twa'u Winter. Thank you to the divine. Thank you to the divine. I truly hope you've benefited from this discussion. I hope that it has been thought-provoking, and I hope that you'll continue to do the work as a practitioner, a high-level practitioner, so that we can return to the source. Once again, your donations are really appreciated. And I must say to you that I truly hope that you will be able to do the kind of ma'atical work that is necessary for you to walk along the footsteps of our ancestors. With that, I say, Shem and Ma'at, go forth in divine balance. And before I leave, let me just say, I saw she just popped in. She might have been there before. Ankan Ma'at to our dear Sanette, who was in Miami, Florida. Does that mean you are on vacation or you out there with family? I just want to say dua to her. I'm glad that she is still there. I'm talking about Sanette Cheryl, who just popped in. I'm glad that you're still out there, one of our full members and an active member. Dua to all of you that I may have missed. And thank you once again. Dua, thank you is dua. Dua for spending this portion of your Sunday with us. We will see you soon. Shem and Ma'at, go forth in divine balance.